All right, I'm here with Michael from Pittsburgh Modular. Hello, Michael.
Hello.
And he's about to present us his new contraption, which is this one. So could you please show us around a little bit?
Okay, so this is the Microvolt 3900. It's our new standalone mono synth, or new the first time it's heard here on this side of the Atlantic. It's a single voice mono synth with multiple waveforms. It includes a wave folder and filter, and also our dynamic VCA circuit, which is a combination between low pass gate and VCA with a tunable decay. In addition to those parts of the audio path, there are numerous modulation sources on the bottom half of the panel, including a free-running or triggerable slope generator that can be voltage controlled, as well as a standard 4-feature ADSR. In addition to that, there's a complex random source that can be tuned between completely random and kind of a correlated random, so that the next step in the sequence is similar to but not the same as the current one. In other words, so that the degree of randomness is variable, not simply attenuating a fully random source, which turns out to be a kind of randomness a lot of people like. And it, because it's all a slider-based machine, and because it's a freestanding machine and not a Eurorack device, it has a lot of flexibility that those formats don't give you. It's optimized for playing. The graphics are very intuitive. It's easy to learn. A lot of people who know nothing about synthesis have been learning this device very quickly. In addition to it being quick to play without patch cables, it also offers 39 patch points. That's why it's the Microvolt 3900. And so most of the patch points, most of the voltage control points within the device are available externally as patches if you choose them, but the patch panel is off to the side so it doesn't interfere with the playing. We have on the left side of the panel the oscillator with a simple centering control. Underneath each of the where the control voltage inputs come are these small rotary attenuators. And the normal patches internal to the device are indicated by the arrows and the lines from the bottom panel to the top. The LFO is fast enough to be used as an FM source if you want it to be, but also very slow. In addition to that, there is pulse width modulation as well as wave folding. So after the waves are generated, they go into a simple 4-channel mixer. We can hear the sine wave in two forms, either the pretty clean sine wave, or what we were calling a harmonic sine, which is really a half of a sine, so that it has even harmonics since the waveform is asymmetrical.
It goes more in the pulse direction. It's more like a pulse wave. It does get a little bit pulsy, the harmonic sine.
It has some of that quality because it has a sharp edge on the bottom. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so in addition to those waveforms, we have the wave folder that takes the sine wave as its default input, but you can patch something else in there, and gradually folds it. Oh wait, let's open the filter all the way. There we go. And that, of course, is also voltage controllable. And then after that, the waveforms pass through a low-pass filter with voltage control. High resonance, low pass filter sound. And
does it go into self-oscillation?
Yes. Okay. So you're doing a better job at this than I am. So that's what happens when you ask the designer to give you a demo. So in what we're calling the high resonance mode, unstable mode, it's actually an oscillator that's being driven. So if I open this up, you can really hear the oscillation. So that is, yes, it's an unstable mode. Right, okay. Following that, it passes into the dynamic VCA circuit, which is our sort of re-envisioning of the low-pass gate circuit without the Vectrol element that everybody is used to thinking of when they think of low-pass gates. There are several reasons why we're not using it. One is that it's infinitely more tunable now that we've gotten rid of that part. So when we put it into that mode, we have control over the decay from extremely short to a longer decay. So we essentially have an infinite number of Vectrols in one device. So instead of buying 5 low-pass gates and picking the one that actually suits your purposes and having too many in the rack, you have them all in one place. So this dynamic VCA, in addition to having low-pass gate mode, has a pluck mode where it only responds to the rise of the incoming attack or whatever you choose to ping it with from the outside, what we're calling pluck mode.
But it sounds a little bit like a plucked string.
That's right, yeah. So low-pass gate has a tendency to have a sort of a natural sound, the way that a hit membrane does, like hitting a drum, or plucking a string, because you have a simultaneous control not just of the loudness, but also of the frequency content. It acts as a very mild low-pass filter at the same time. But the consequence, if we switch between the two, low-pass gate and plain old VCA, is very different. Right? You hear the difference immediately. One of them sounds like you placed a cookie cutter over the sound and have a very clean control over the amplitude, and the other one has a ploing to it, right? Okay, so we have all of those responses in the single dynamic VCA panel here, as well as an offset control, and the default control source for that is the 4-feature ADSR, but we can send something else into it as well if we want. We can send the free-running function generator, or we can pluck it with something from the outside. After that, it goes into an overdrive circuit, so I can distort the crap out of it, but because it happens right before the output control, I can have quiet distortion, right? So it's not, it doesn't just go to the roof. I can overdrive it but also turn it down.
Which is a good thing, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's the little bit of distortion under control is a great thing. In addition to the output distortion here, there's actually an external preamp in, so if you want, and people were doing this at NAMM, you can patch the output into another layer of distortion if you want. So you can go high gain to high gain and have super duper distortion if you prefer it. So in addition to that, we have the patch panel. There's a utility control voltage source or attenuator for the external input. And then the modulation sources, did I talk about those? It's the envelope generator, a triggerable function generator. So if we look here on this part of the panel, right now it's being triggered by the gate from the key source, which comes in on the MIDI via stereo MIDI, just like our stuff has been doing in the past, and we're observing that what's now determined to be the MIDI standard for that. But this function generator will also cycle if we wanted to, so it'll repeat all by itself. So in a sense, it can be used as a free-running complex LFO. There are 2 attenuators for control voltage, actually attenuverters. They share a control voltage, but that means that we can voltage control the rise and fall times for complex waveforms. In addition to that, the MIDI interface has an arpeggiator with hold if we wanted. Right? Octave controls, etc. So we can control the arpeggiator to run at the tap tempo clock frequency, or we can run it at multiples of the clock frequency, etc. A lot of the standard things that you would see in our standalone MIDI interface are now integrated into the 3900, but it's tiny, cute, and fun to play.
Yeah, it looks like, and if you want, you can integrate it to your rack or what have you, because
that's right.
It's
fully compatible, fully interpatchable with any other rack mount stuff. Very compatible with Eurorack since it observes the patch standard. So although it's a freestanding device, it's extremely flexible and interfaceable with anything else that you've got. Especially interfaceable, for instance, with your digital audio workstation because it shares all the MIDI messages and so on.
And so, do you specifically aim at the beginner with this device?
Say that again?
Do you specifically aim at beginners with this device?
We aim at playability and lack of confusion. One of the things that we made, it sounds like a joke, but one of the things we made as a priority in the design of this device is that it made sense to people. It can also make sense to people who have been in this stuff for a long time. It's not necessarily a beginner's device because beginners can learn it quickly. Although beginners can learn it quite quickly, we're seeing a lot of people learn the panel quickly, and they're immediately understanding what they're doing, at least on an intuitive level, on the ear level, right? So it is a great teaching tool, but like any good tool, it doesn't become obsolete. It's an excellent mono synth. It's laid out very well. It sounds exceptionally nice with essentially zero crosstalk between any of its parts. And is extremely accessible. It's not. It doesn't hide any of its functions. It doesn't call them by weird names. So in a way, it is extremely appealing for people who are new to synthesizers because it's affordable, it's small, it makes sense, and it's extremely flexible.
Hello, I'm here with Perry from Pittsburgh Modular, and he's got another thing to show. It's a nice sequencer. What's it all about?
So what we have here is our new 32-step sequencer. It is a Eurorack module. We will be selling it both in a self-powered rack as well as a module to be racked in any standard Eurorack case. As you can see, there are 32 steps, but there are actually 4 separate sequences that all run independently. What we have right here is called Pages mode, as we're calling it. You're basically looking at just sequence A, and it's running through all 32 steps. The steps are quantized, and you can choose your scale, chromatic, major, minor, some more esoteric scales, Phrygian. There's also microtonal if you want to get in between notes. You can easily mute, turn notes on and off from the interface here, run on the fly. But this is just looking at a single sequence. If you wish to edit another, you can simply access the second sequence. And now this interface will apply to sequence B. It has the sequence saved, but if you want to go live, press the live button and it'll snap all the faders where you need to go. So that is Pages mode, but if you want a more performance heavy way to approach it, you can go into the performance mode where it splits the interface into several sequences. Here I'll go to 3. We now have one 16-stage sequence and 2 8-stage sequences. This gives you direct control over every sequence at the same time, and you can perform live. Here we have a second module to add that. So it's a very approachable, easy-to-use sequencer. But we also have added a lot of features into it to give you some more sort of depth. There are several effects to add. You can obviously change the length of the sequence. You can add swing. You can add a ratcheting effect where it will subdivide steps. We have a Euclidean gate mode, which will allow you to automatically pick a sort of pleasing arrangement of gates on and off through the value knob here. There are also ways to randomize each of the effects so that more or less things will change and organically sort of evolve over time. What it also has, which we've worked very hard to include, is MIDI in and out capabilities. So with the MIDI out, you gain access to all 4 sequences, their note on and off information, pitch information. You can set their channels in and out, so you can send it out to separate MIDI instruments. You can also use the MIDI in to transpose with a keyboard if you want to transpose live. We decided to integrate 2 CV inputs so that you can have external analog control over effects. Basically, the idea was to get as many features into it as possible while making it still very playable, very approachable. So we're really excited with where it's at. We'll be finishing up the code hopefully in the next few months. July is our hopeful release date. I don't have a price for you yet, but we hope to have some information on our website shortly. We're very excited about it. We've been having a lot of fun.
Wow. Well, looks great, sounds great. Thank you very much, Perry. And I think that's about it from Pittsburgh Modular. And okay, just leaves me with saying bye for now.